Welcome to my unboxing of the Bitfenix Outlaw, which is a pretty unique case. Now, it has an inverted motherboard tray. That's not unique. But what is unique is an inverted motherboard tray at this kind of a price point. So we'll see what Bitfenix has to say for themselves, and then we'll figure out what I think is important. So, unique thermal layout, okay. I think what they mean to say is inverted motherboard tray. CPU cooler cutout, which is now at the bottom of the motherboard tray. Ooh, that's like voodoo magic, right? 4 USB 2.0 ports. This is a value-oriented case, so we're still looking at USB 2. Side panel cooling, okay, good. Full black interior, also very good because we will be able to see inside through the side panel cooling. Fits long VGA cards, which is pretty much a must for a gaming case these days, but still gets neglected from time to time by some manufacturers whose products are not as well thought out as the ones who are thinking it out well enough to include compatibility for long VGA cards. And you can probably tell by this time that I'm just killing time while I break the seals on the box. There we are. First thing we find inside is a quick installation guide. Now, this package went through hell and back to reach me. You can clearly see that the packing materials are broken, but what we're gonna find out, because remember, broken packing materials is fine. Broken case, bad. So we're going to find out if the broken packing materials were able to absorb enough impact to protect the case inside. So here is the quick installation guide, which tells you how to... What is lock loop? Electroplated Bitfenix logo sticker. Cool, cool. Remove screws, basic installation, 5¼ drives. Look at that pictures. I remember when I first got into computers, the manual for a case was text. Like, I kid you not. They didn't even document things like front panel headers at all. And back then there weren't standards for things like front panel audio, so you just had to kind of guess based on, well, the motherboard's one says VCC something, and then the case one says VDD, and one of them, they're both kind of plus, and so maybe they're related in some way. Okay, so this came off. Here's the packing materials. Okay. This was shipped to me as a single unit, though. It didn't come on a pallet. And I don't know where it came from. Actually, I can find out where it came from, just to give you guys some idea. So, yeah, so it came from across the continent, actually. So, let's take off the plastic and find out what kind of shape it arrived in. I see a fan grommet. Alright. I'm very anxious to see what happened here. Alright, hold on. Looks good for now. Looks good for now. Looks good for now. Alright, look at that. Hey, it made it. Okay, so let's have a look at the Outlaw then. Excellent. Yeah, let's do outside impressions first. So we've got dual 120mm fans in the top. I would have preferred to see these closer together so you can use a dual 100mm or dual 120mm radiator in the top without any modification. However, it's possible that because this is a value case, the inside isn't big enough to do it anyway, so we'll have to have a look. You'll notice that on the side panel where we would normally find like cooling or a window, there's nothing. That's because this is the wrong side panel for that in this case due to the inverted motherboard tray. On the front, we find their soft touch finish, which honestly, as soon as we started demoing these in the stores at NCIX where I work, customers started buying them far more because they really like this soft touch finish. So they have that on their Colossus, they have that on a number of their cases. It is significantly more expensive than just a powder coated black finish, but especially for the front bezel, looks really, really sharp. And I really like it. So on the front top, we've got 4 USB 2.0 ports, a microphone port, a headphone port, power LED, hard drive LED, power switch, and little tiny reset switch. Good to see because that way you're not going to accidentally hit it. We've got mesh on the sides here, as well as on the front here, and the sides on the other side. So that is going to enable us to, provide these two 120mm fans with the airflow that they need to cool the rest of your system. We've also got 4 5¼ bays, and here's something I haven't seen before. So it looks like if you install 4 5¼ devices, you will be blocking that top 120mm fan. Honestly, with this case, having the cooling options that it does already have, I wouldn't worry. Whoops, hold on. I think I might have screwed up here. Just a second. And yeah. Okay. Maybe I just have to hit it harder. Whoops. Yep, that was it. Okay, so we've got the fans here, we've got the fans on the top. I wouldn't worry too much about your stuff not getting enough cooling. So, thumb screws at the back. Thumb screws here and here. Bottom mounted power supply. Actually, it's more like a top mounted power supply because check this out. If I take the whole case and I go like this, now it just looks like a standard case with a top mounted power supply, your I/O shield, your 120mm cooling fan, and your PCI slots, right? Whoops. But that would be upside down for this case, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to remove the side panels. Now I'm breaking everything. This has been sort of one thing after another for this unboxing, hasn't it? Alright, let's flip it back over, and you are going to find a very strange internal layout. So, the cooling summary is dual 120s in the front, 120 in the bottom, dual 120s at the top, 120 at the back, and dual 120s or 240s on this side panel, which sits like this and will blow down on your graphics card area as well as your CPU area. Or rather, sorry, your graphics card area as well as your CPU area, because they are upside down in this case. Okay, accessories. Here we have your power supply, which has little rubber pieces to allow you to, even if you have a long power supply, look at that, they go all the way out to here, it's going to support it. You're going to be able to mount it with the fan down, so you won't have any loose screws falling into your power supply, because some cases have room for power supplies in the bottom, but they don't have ventilation here. So what can happen is, unless you mount the power supply with the fan facing the top, it won't get any air. So you can accidentally drop things in it. I dropped water in one once, that was bad. So it didn't work anymore. Fortunately, it didn't kill any of my other stuff when it died, so I was fortunate. I was fortunate that way. I don't remember what power supply it was I killed though. Okay, so I don't like. This is throwing me off a lot. I'm gonna be like honest with you guys here. It's like really confusing looking at this because I'm like, oh, I'm holding the case upside down, but I'm not. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PCI slots. You've got water cooling grommets here, so that's at the top of the case. Here you've got a couple pre-installed motherboard standoffs, but you'll have to fill in the rest of them on your own. Your CPU tray cutout is not huge, but the reality of it is it doesn't have to be huge in a lot of cases, because you can, even if your CPU socket is here, you can slip it in from the back and then position it and then screw on whatever it is from the front. So it's not that big of a deal as long as it's big enough to fit the back plate through, and then you can reposition as needed. Up on the top here, it looks like due to the up on the top. At the bottom here, never mind, nothing. Up at the top, it looks like, yes, we will not be able to fit a dual 120mm radiator just due to the clearance that would be interfered with by a bottom installed PCI card. So that's probably why they didn't bother with that spacing. 3.5-inch bays. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 3.5-inch hard drive bays, and then down here at the bottom, we've also, that is the bottom. That's the bottom. Okay, we've also got a 2.5-inch. 2.5-inch cutout so that you can put an SSD down at the bottom of your case. 1, 2, 3, 4 5.25-inch bays. I think we already talked about that. And black internal cables. Love to see black internal cables. There's your front panel switches and LEDs and whatnots. Here's your front panel audio, your front panel USB 2, and then your other more different front panel USB 2. So thank you for checking out my very confused unboxing of the Bitfenix Outlaw. I think what is outlawish about it is that it just sort of breaks every rule for a value case. It's got a nice finish on the bezel, which is really good to see. Lots of cooling options, tons of cooling options. It's like a cooling box, and then In theory, it also provides better cooling due to the inverted ATX layout, which allows you to blow away all your CPU heat here, and then heat rises, so having your video cards, especially if you're running 2 or more, up at the top where you can exhaust the heat right away, could, in theory, be a good thing as well. And you've also, due to the layout of the case, got ventilation almost all the way up to the top if you only have one 5 1/4 inch device, because this is all mesh, and then you've got mesh on the side here as well, so you can exhaust that way if you have cards that blow not only out the back of the case, but also out the front of the card. So thank you for checking out this unboxing. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for more unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos. Sorry guys, I forgot. Inside the accessory box, there are some zip ties. There are also about 300 billion thumb screws. Yeah, like seriously, like how many thumb screws could one person need? The answer is this many. And then finally, some other more different screws, power supply screws, motherboard standoffs, motherboard screws, and last but not least, a very stylish looking, shiny metal Bitfenix logo. And that is all.